Y'all remember One Call Away, that song with Chingy and
I'm only one call, Chingalang. Is that why? Are you being chingy right now?
yeah, a little.
Is that what you're giving us?
Yeah, you couldn't tell?
You couldn't tell? Why you gotta
Mm-mm.
ask?
Mm-mm. I couldn't, to be honest.
Of course, you gotta ask. You already know what it is.
Okay, all right. Let's get into it. We are here for the rise and fall of Monique and Candiace's friendship. All right. This is
Yes.
season 4. All right. We're gonna be looking at,
Y'all waited. We're so appreciative. We made you wait, but we back with season 4.
yes, we're back. Um, does somebody want to say the impetus behind this series? Why we thought we had to bring it back to season 4 before we go into season 10? It's about to be season 9.
Yeah. Well, check out our takes on season 3, because basically on our TikTok channel we were getting some they remain strange and other people are coming agreeing with us, like some strange assessments that seem like, did y'all
Yeah.
watch the previous seasons of this show? Because a lot of people were claiming that Candiace betrayed Monique.
Right.
It seemed like a very confused state of affairs. So we decided to go back and track the unfolding of their friendship from, Candiace's very first appearance, right? That's when they become friends, when Candiace appears, season 3. So please check out our full series, like either on YouTube or on TikTok. We go over what happens in the course of that beginning of their relationship.
Right. It's a way of correcting the record. I mean, correcting the record by attending closely to actually the nuances of the many events that unfold between them. Because if you pay attention, it's just there's no way you can sustain the idea that Candace didn't cheat
It's a
her.
rich text.
Yeah.
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 But the way Andy acts, we are not supposed to pay attention. So it's harder than it seems.
Mm-hmm.
All right. With that being said, I think it's time for a toast. Though I have been drinking already. I've been sipping.
Before we toast, Kristen, you'll do the toast. Okay,
Of
but
course.
I just want to note something about the stat, like just to situate ourselves, because we said, season 3 is where we get started. You need to watch through our season 3 recap, our season 3 analysis, really, in order to situate yourself here at the start of season 4. But just to say where we leave off, what we find at the end of that, early season of their relationship is that things are tenuous. So that's where we're starting. See, season 4, Candiace and Monique already know each other, but shit is tenuous.
Yes. All right. And it started out season 3 like it was Candiace's debut season. If you didn't know any better, you would have thought these two were about to be besties. By the end, it was a whole other story. So
Notably though, no major like sparks, or like there are issues, there are building and budding tensions, but like we don't get in season 3 a major explosion between the two of them. So we'll see what some of those seeds generate.
Now, from the perspective of the viewer, I would say actually there was cause for major conflict, but neither woman escalates it as a kind of antagonism, right? Like they're not actively mad at each other, but I would say they're not the sisters that was promised from that first meeting, right? Like literally they were using sister to talk about each other, and they're not there.
The seeds were being planted.
Well, with that, let's raise our glasses, because while season 3 marked Candiace's first season, season 4 marks the farewell of a significant contributor to the Potomac franchise, a one Miss Katie Ross.
Katie Ross.
Cheers.
And to Katie Ross' redemption arc, because I would say the way she shows up season 1, don't nobody want to mess with her. Like I mean, we'd like to know what y'all think about that. I was not fucking with season 1 Katie Ross. Okay, too much by Rachel behavior that was reprehensible, if you ask me. This season though, she comes back to redeem herself. Her main target is your favorite by Rachel, Ashley Darby.
Ashley Darby gotta get it. Cheers to Katie. You are now watching Mind You Media.
Mind you.
We can't use that. We don't have the rights. You are now streaming Mind You Media.
Look at my missing nail.
Put your hand down.
Put it away. All right. Well, to extend Ellen's kind of situation for us of, you know, where season 3 ended and where we're opening here in season 4, I feel like a good place to start is that quintessential Potomac and Housewives feature, the tagline. So I feel like the taglines that the women update for season 4 might give us a little bit of insight into like how they're coming into this season and how they're thinking about, you know, what their role is and how their arc unfolds this season. So Giselle, we get her.
Oh, wait, I want to do all the taglines.
Yeah.
Every time the show runs, I spend the entire season like learning and repeating their taglines.
Yes.
So I'm pretty good at saying it like that. I mean, I haven't heard these. Whatever. Let's
Don't oversell it. Don't oversell it.
Come on.
Okay,
Actress.
Right.
Okay, Giselle goes, I'm the baddest thing walking and the smartest one talking.
Okay, that was actually pretty good. I will give you that.
Decent, right? Decent.
Yes.
I just want to bring the vibe, okay? I'm not saying I'm going to sound just like that.
Some of the intonations were there. I will give you that.
You got intonations. That's right. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Why is it important for her to be the smartest one? Okay.
Yeah. So to clarify, the taglines are going to help us situate where each housewife is at the start of season 4, right? So that accounts for the way season 3 left off, what happens in the intervening period between filming, and like kind of where we find them at the start of season 4. So we're thinking of it in terms of that. For Giselle, what was happening at the end of season 3, really at Monique's hands, is her and her new man Sherman's relationship is falling apart, partly because Monique exposes Sherman and his like shameful past. Like at some point, maybe he was caught with a prostitute in a park. Monique brings that up on season 3 and then spends some amount of time at the end of the season apologizing for it. But it seems to really take a toll on the relationship, because I think Sherman somehow was hoping like he wasn't going to get like spotlighted despite dating Giselle while she's on the show. So he's pulling back. But at what our last update from the season 3 reunion from Giselle, she said he's trying to work his way back into my life, and you know, we're taking it. I'm entertaining it. We're taking it slow. So it seems like if she's saying I'm the baddest thing walking, you know, Giselle always wants to underscore that she's the most desirable woman ever on earth. And then the smartest is to say like, I have not been played by that man, and I will not be played by that man. So,
and in fact, I'm the most discerning. I can see. I know what people are up to. You're not gonna catch me slipping. I'm not gonna
exactly. It's despite what you think you saw. I saw it too, but I saw it before you, and I know what I'm getting into. You know,
which Catherine can embody that position, because you know we believe Giselle is an Enneagram 8. A lot of people diagnose her as a 3 on like the Reddit forums, but Giselle is an Enneagram 8, and you know what's important to the 8, what the 8 prizes above all else is like competence. Like they're fixated on being competent. So for Giselle, that looks like, you know, smartest, which is to say the most competent. So for Giselle, that looks like being basically invulnerable, like not getting the okie doke, not getting gotcha'd by anybody, not getting played, like always looking like she's several steps ahead of her assailants.
And competence, I mean, we'll move forward, but don't get me started on 8s, okay? It's because she doesn't want to be controlled, right? So it's like, if you look like that dumb bitch that a man is putting over here, you know. No, but that's her fear. That is literally, she does not want to look exactly how I just described it.
Yes.
And you know, let's keep that in mind going forward. You know, we will move on from this. We'll look at how season 4 unfolds for Giselle, but knowing that about her and knowing what we know about Giselle at this point, where season 9 is about to premiere, we can actually track the way her commitment to competence and not getting played has really wrecked her character as a reality TV person. She's like,
And we'll note now, because when we get into the unfolding of Candiace and Monique, we won't have time to talk about it. But for this season marks Candiace's wedding, right? Like, she was engaged to Chris last season, so the wedding is the major event at the start of the season. And what happens there for Giselle is that she's planning to take Sherman as her date, as her +1 to the wedding. She does get a belated invitation because Candiace wasn't going to invite her after her behavior, but she belatedly invites her. Giselle's planning to bring Sherman the day of the wedding. Sherman calls Giselle to say, I'm not coming. So she's devastated. She calls Robin. Robin is like almost reveling in the like the way Robin goes, you're kidding.
No.
It's not
the smile, not the quote.
It's not good. It's not good. She's a little bit pleased, okay, at her friend's suffering. And so Giselle like is distressed because she's gonna feel embarrassed. But I would say I'm impressed, and I really like Giselle this episode because she ends up going anyway, and she looks great. You know, she's wearing an outfit that is as if she is, you know, the pastor, meaning to convene the marriage. And she gets wasted, and Ashley, like as her comrade, is like, let me also take several drinks back, even though I'm not supposed to be drinking. And so Giselle gets wasted, and she's really like loving and caring and nice and fun at the wedding. So, you know, that's another one of those things. Like, I'm not going to lose because I got played by this man. I'm showing my ass up to the wedding, and I'm going to try to be the life of the party.
Yeah, strong, independent woman. Who's next? Who is next?
Well, speaking
Robin.
of reveling, yes.
That's right. The shorter my hair, the shorter my patience. I think she's trying to sound like Giselle in that one. Did I get that right? I mean, I know I got the words right, but did I get the vibe right?
Yeah.
The shorter my hair, the shorter my patience.
Yeah, I think she's trying to suggest she is a kind of boss bitch. You know, like I think she's trying to let people know, like, yeah, I came in with the real story of my struggle, but let me let you know I'm running things now, you know?
And who knows? Giselle might have helped her with her tagline.
She probably did. Okay, so right, because this is like Robin kind of on the cusp of starting all her little financial side hustles and coming up out of the financial red that her and Juan were in last time we checked. Okay, next is Karma's a bitch, but luckily I'm on her good side.
Now, you might hear that tagline and think it's somebody it's not, because it's precisely not true. Ashley Darby.
I was thinking the opposite. I take your point, but I was like, that is a great Ashley. That was a good Ashley.
Actually, I do really well. Every time I hear Ashley say something, I like mimic it back at the screen to try to mock her. But so I'm honing my Ashley.
Yeah.
No, why would she say that? No, what as Megan Thee Stallion said, why would you say that?
Well, Ashley, as we know, is a liar. She lies to herself and to others. It's a moment of disavowal, because what has happened since the end of season 3, like at the reunion, we learn Ashley actually conceived after her 30th birthday and then miscarried. So I don't know, but there will be a moment of karma to talk about later in the season, like literally the use of the word. But it seems to me that like we can think of this, karma is a bitch. Like, you might have thought I would have lost given the like coming for Monique I was implicated in last season, but I'm still doing well despite losing the child I conceived and my marriage always being a farce. Like, it's just Ashley literally saying the opposite of what's happening at any given moment. And but she's getting her comeuppance.
Quite awkward. Like, I don't want to say awkward in reference to like, you know, a miscarriage, but this being her tagline, and she comes in having had a miscarriage, like that's your plot line. It's just like sounds like karma is on your ass. Like,
sounds like the lady doth protest too much. It's like, no, girl, it sounds like you're over speaking and trying to cover what is clear and manifest to all of us that you're struggling.
Yes. And someone say a bit about this in relation to Monique and Candiace. Like, why is Ashley's relationship to Karma how is that gonna come into play later?
Well, it's gonna come into play later as expressed. Like somebody else is going to talk about Ashley's karma, and it's neither Candiace nor Monique. But I think so I don't necessarily know what you asking about.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know the answer. I don't know.
But the karma that we can read to situate where she's at the start, it's like Monique had a miscarriage the preceding season, and Monique shared with us at the reunion that like many of the like people who were trolling her online were like, yeah, because you're an alcoholic, that's why you had the miscarriage. So it's really interesting that when the season kicks off, Ashley is breaking her little, temporary sobriety by getting wasted with Giselle at the wedding, and herself is just coming off of a miscarriage. But she also doesn't seem emotionally phased by it when the season starts. So keep that in mind.
There's that.
All right, things to watch. Karen.
Give us Karen.
You can try to tear me down, but the Grand Dame never crumbles.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
The timbre of the voice at the beginning sounded really, really Karen-ish. It's very
right. The first clause, but then the second one, but the Grand Dame never crumbles.
Exactly. It wasn't loud enough in terms of the.
Come on, shoulders.
Because she's going like this, but the Grand Dame never crumbles.
There you go. There you go. You need every single word. You need to feel like it's your fucking last,
It's true. It's true.
No, the Grand Dame never crumbles. We did just see her. Shout out to Karen and her parents at reunion season 3. Break down there and thinking about them. She had just lost her father like a week before the filming of the reunion. The whole season 3 was characterized by the women trying to tear her and Ray down on the matter of his finances. So, she's definitely responding and reacting against probably what she is consciously thinking about as like, they trying to break me down, but I'm not, I rise above.
Yeah. And I think the thing worth noting is like where she stands with the women. She's not happy with Giselle because Giselle was key in mocking her and Ray for that financial situation. She's not happy with Ashley because Ashley is a general troll and like also played a hand in mocking her, and that only Monique really lent her support, and Candiace she hadn't met yet. Robin was involved in it, Giselle was involved in it, Ashley was involved in it. And there's a sense towards the end of the season that Karen and Charisse actually have a rivalry. And I think Karen regards Charisse as somebody who is consistently trying to drag her down. Like there's an ongoing rivalry with her. And when the season opened, guess who doesn't have a tagline? It's Charisse. So it's almost like Karen's triumphal narrative. Like, you can try to tear me down, Charisse, Giselle, Robin, and Ashley, but the Grand Dame never crumbles because now Charisse is gone. Ashley, you looking stupid. Giselle, you looking, Come on. I think that's where Karen is coming from.
And this point about Charisse's ass not being taglining no part of season 4 is very interesting because if you recall, in season 3, Candiace's first season, so much of that beef between Candiace and Monique that unfolded in the lead up to Nemacolin and at Nemacolin had to do with Charisse. Giselle was like, Charisse brought us together. That's not the one you want to go for. Charisse is your senior, but Charisse was positioned as such this like figure of significance, the one relating all the women to each other, and somehow I guess the show goes on.
Well, she didn't even have, I almost said an apple. She didn't have a cherry blossom season 3. You wouldn't have known it.
Right.
But she was a central figure in season 3, just didn't get the full paycheck.
True.
Okay, so we actually won't see her. Like, we're just gonna let I don't think we see her at all. We'll see as we discussed, but I don't think we're gonna see Charisse at all. So she's really dead and gone to the show.
This might be, in fact, the season that she takes off to go to get Gideonla's help fixing her life.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, okay. So she's busy. Okay.
Yeah.
So next tagline is, now that I'm marrying my prince, this sleeping beauty is woke.
Who's that?
Your face was Candiace at the end.
Okay. But not the sound of the voice. Fair.
Yeah. I mean, what I'm learning is you just sound like Giselle.
I need to
Eight
hear them
recognized eight.
actively, and then I'll be able to do it. Fine, whatever. Okay,
Wait,
so
that's like never mind. That's
so let's say with Candiace, like what could she be now? It's actually a really interesting tag. Like it's not. I'm not attracted to it as a tagline. I'm like because I do be evaluating. Like I'm like, girl. Now that you're marrying your prince, you're woke, and
You
then
were
it's like
slippery?
he's a white man, so it's kind of
Yeah.
crazy. But we talked this out, so it's like this thing is chock full of symbolism,
Yeah.
right? So it's
the
like
white man aspect is actually hilarious.
it's crazy. Like, okay, so she says now that she's marrying her prince. Okay, but what we learn like a few episodes into the season is like in Candiace's household, like when she was growing up, there was clearly this sense that like when you get married, that's when you become a real person. Like, it's almost like a transition to womanhood. We'll later
Yeah.
hear Dorothy make some recourse to this idea that like when you get married, you have to grow up. So I
Yeah.
think it's like Candiace will have internalized this idea and she's just like, okay, now that I'm getting married, freedom from my mama, who is, abusive and controlling. B, the elder housewives can no longer continue to portray me as childish, young, da 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 da. Now I'm
Immature,
similarly positioned with them. I'm a
little
grown up
girl.
in a
Yeah.
committed relationship. Exactly. It's like marriage is doing a lot of work for her symbolically. And then the other one is like, I mean, in light of those thinking those two things together, it's like you have to wonder about how does she think of Monique? Because, and we'll track this later, but I just want to suggest there is a kind of similarity between Monique and Candiace's mom. Like she may be attracted to the kind of authority and shared values Monique represents because it is like a mother figure. But of course, she thinks there's more promise here in this relationship, right? Like,
And they both, Monique and Dorothy, under the cover of their affectionate relationship with Candiace, smuggle a lot of like control and expectation for her, fidelity, loyalty, submission. And we will see that play out all season 4, where Monique is really under the cover of friendship. Like, I'm just coming to you girl to girl as sisters, blah, 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 trying to control, manage, and like contain Candiace for her own purposes.
Okay. Now, the final tagline to consider, and I would argue this one is the richest text because
Literally,
there's metaphor, there's mixed metaphors. Like,
Yes.
anyway, and then the Enneagram will bear here. Okay.
All right, let's just take a breath, get into character. This is your last go.
Oh my God, now I'm scared. Okay.
She's your director. She's directing it.
I've traded in my umbrella. It's all gold at the end of this rainbow. I didn't believe it.
Okay,
I didn't believe it. I can't hear her in my head saying it. That's the problem.
Clear because a student of Monique would know that she says umbrella, not
I traded
umbrella.
in my umbrella. Oh, wow,
wow,
you're right. You're right.
Close
Okay.
reader.
I'm gonna come back like later in the future, having rehearsed these and just do a video of them. All right.
Okay.
And I'll get dressed up in character. Oh my God, I'm gonna wear a wig.
The wigs,
and
finally the
oh my God. The grand dame. Okay.
Yes, and have it fly off when you do, Karen.
I'm the grand dame. You can be Ashley imitating the grand dame, but I will be that grand dame. Okay.
Fine. Okay, so again, lots of symbolic language here. I've traded in my umbrella. The umbrella, of course, harkens back to what we, analyzed last season as that scene where after Karen's scent event, the women are kicked out because they get into a conflict. And that conflict is truly between Monique and Ashley. But Robin is lit to get her shots in because she started the season mad at Monique for some comment she made the preceding reunion about how basically Robin is Giselle's lackey. So while Monique and Ashley are going into it, Robin is standing at the sidelines like, is giving Sheree and Marlo in South Africa. So then Robin literally, I mean, at some point, Monique goes, "Shut up," and Robin approaches and gets in her face. Monique holds her off with an umbrella to her clavicle. So that's that. She doesn't
Dramatic
definitely holds
reenact.
her off. So the I've traded in my umbrella is a way of narrating her transcendence over that moment of belligerence. Like, I've traded it in. No more of that bad behavior for me, right? Like, it's all gold. So that's a shout out to Robin and a shot at Robin. It's
Yeah.
all gold. I believe that is meant to underscore Monique's more abundant riches in comparison with all of the women. And specifically, like at this point, oh no, okay, they're about a year into their new Potomac home, but it's a mega mansion. She's like, I'm rich, don't forget.
Yeah. They got
It's
fish
all-
tanks attached to the
Mhm.
home.
That was the preceding house.
Oh,
That-
these are different.
It's
Wow.
a different house. The fish tank does not feature centrally in this new house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It might just
So
be koi pond. Don't they got a pond?
they
for
do
koi-
have a koi pond in this one.
Yeah.
They have a koi pond in this one because the fish tank was kind of tacky. Like, let's face it, which is our motto.
Okay, spillers. Let's face it.
So it's like a red lobster. So she then says, at the end of this rainbow, right? The rainbow we'll see at some point later this season, midway through the season, actually a third of the way through the season, harkens Monique's pregnancy. We meet Monique at the start of the season,
I didn't even
very
think about
pregnant.
that. Wow.
She had conceived. She had conceived at the end of season 3 because she discusses it at the reunion, and then she miscarried. So this is called, according to Monique and like, I don't know, mom blogs, this is called the rainbow baby. The baby you successfully carry probably past a certain threshold after a miscarriage is considered your rainbow baby. Probably your first
Yes.
trimester, right? Like if it survives the first trimester, it's your rainbow baby.
I've
So
seen that on Instagram.
those are the references she's making.
Let's
And
talk
that's a
about
shot at Ashley, of course.
Let's talk about the references that don't work. So is she like a leprechaun? Because at the end of the rainbow, there's a pot of gold. Is it like the what is it, the Lucky Charms one? Does that one keep the umbrella?
No, she's mixed metaphors. Okay, there's a little
Okay.
Mary Poppins. There's a little
Okay.
bit of the Irish leprechaun. Like,
Okay.
She's
All
Black
right.
Irish.
I just want to make sure we get in the things that don't work as well as the ones that do.
okay, and just to situate us, like first episode, we get the scene opens with Monique yelling quite alarmingly at her children who are 5 and 2. She's like, "Get the hell off that!"
Give me my
Like,
ball. You
and
better
then
not look at me like that.
she's talking to us and they're just playing. There's nothing that, like, anyway, she's clearly irritable, right? Monique is like, I would argue constantly irritable actually, but now that she's pregnant, like there's a really good reason to be irritable and everybody's gonna pay. She opens expressing her ambivalence. It's not even ambivalence, right? It's like naked. I was forced to have this baby. I'm not with it, but this better be it. It better be done. Chris wants 4 or 5. And I say enough is enough because what I'm gonna do with these.
She literally said, I don't know, can I do another one? I mean, I guess I don't have much of a choice. And then that characteristic Monique laugh. It's just like, girl, that's not funny.
It's funny because no sound came out, so it's even scarier.
I know. I was like, is she doing that on purpose?
There was no sound?
No
Oh.
sound.
No.
No
I feel
sound.
like I had achieved a really good version of it.
You
Dang.
got so close to the mic, they said, get somebody else to do it.
It was just the mouth moving. Just the
Oh
mouth.
wow. Okay, well,
Mhm. Pretty
insert
cool.
clip.
Okay, so those are the taglines for the season, and that's like our way of situating us, like what's going on with the various women, what are the relationships, the alliances, the rivalries, the antagonisms, the major events that start us off, and that's pretty much it.
Right.
All right, but now for the real event that starts us off, that wedding. Okay.
Oh yeah. Okay, but before we get to the wedding, there's build up. Like we get some amount of the episode dedicated to the preparations, like the dress fitting. And even before that, we find Candiace and Dorothy in a very heated exchange in Candiace's kitchen over who will be invited to the wedding.
Right. Dorothy's on her worst behavior. I mean, Dorothy, we mentioned in the taglines, Dorothy is this figure in Candace's life that is overbearing. She's a likely a 3 in Enneagram 3, and she has narcissistic tendencies. So she's very like,
I would say beyond tendencies.
okay,
Yeah, I would say she could be diagnosed with full blown. After what we see of that argument, and then what we see of her throughout the season,
Mhm.
Dorothy, and let's not get started on when they sit down with the therapist.
Yes.
Yeah, that also happens. Okay, but Dorothy could easily be diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder.
This season, she really reveals herself.
Mm-hmm.
It's ugly. She's on her worst behavior. She and Candiace go to one of Candiace's final dress fittings before the wedding,
No,
and
but before that is the argument.
oh, that's not at the
No. So
jog
sitting
my
so
memory.
sitting in the kitchen, sitting in Candace's sitting in the kitchen of the townhome, they get into an argument because Candace has invited her half brother to the wedding. Now her half brother is the son of her father. What we learn is that Dorothy, Candace's mother, and Candace's biological father were married and had children before Candace's biological father and Dorothy get married. Candace's biological father cheated on Dorothy and conceived a son who ends up being born before Candace is even born.
Mhm.
Yet Dorothy still marries Candace's biological father. And I'm not saying that because we should judge her for it. I'm just saying if she married him after the cheating, why does she continue to be mad about the fact of his son?
And then it's sick because it's like, oh my gosh, you never acknowledged this son, probably, even as you were married.
Correct.
I have an answer. I have a suggestion. It's
Well,
like
let me just say for context, Kristen has
Yeah, but it's
met Dorothy in real
I
life.
know.
So
Thank
you
you.
really are our informant here.
Let's
Yeah.
throw a picture up there.
Yeah, I know, right? You see it? That was we saw each other. Hey girl, shout out to Crystal too.
Because we getting ready to talk shit about Dorothy.
Yeah.
You better not shout her out.
But this
You
might
will
do
not be
well.
spared, Dorothy.
We gonna help you. We gonna help you reframe your investments, girl.
She knows how to do that already.
Yeah.
Dorothy can do a reframe.
And no, I think I mean, because it is a convenient strategy to manipulate someone by keeping them indebted to you by virtue of what what they hurt you with or something. You know what I'm saying? You can kind of like accumulate somebody's transgression against you as a thing to use against them. And it's like, I don't know. We don't know that relationship that she had with that man. He may very well have also been an awful person, but it's like, why is the occasion of Candace's wedding where she's bringing 250 guests and all the people in her life that are friends, certainly shouldn't her family be involved? But that's a time for Dorothy to feel aggrieved or feel embarrassed or feel like something is being done to her. It feels like she's almost trying to like preserve the possession of the grievance. And if like Candace brings her brother to her wedding, like Dorothy, it's somehow like Dorothy's grievance, you know?
I will say I have I don't think it's at odds with your reading, but I really believe what's happened here is as a 3, Dorothy is triggered by the prospect of being humiliated. And other people might
Yes.
go, "Girl, you're not going to be humiliated," but her
Mhm.
image is foremost to her.
Yeah.
So what the brother's presence at the wedding underscores is actually that the picture of a little normative family she once had with Candace's biological father is a lie.
All
Because
fake
I mean, it
news.
is a lie if it's a norm, right? Because he had a son
Mhm.
before marrying her, and that son is around the same age as Candace. So it basically makes clear that she was cheated on and then continued to. She's embarrassed at that prospect, even though she whole ass divorced that man and has since married a new husband.
That's
She's
the
still
thing.
fixated on the presentation of an image related to her first husband.
Yep.
That's the crazy part. It's like that's not even the relationship that represents you now. Why
Yes.
can't you see that?
And what it means that Candace first invited him. She invited him without telling her. She invites him. Of course, the wedding hasn't happened. She's fucking allowed to do that. And then she's is sitting down in the kitchen with Dorothy, and she goes, "I want you to know that I invited my half brother." And then for Dorothy, not only is she's triggered at the prospect of being embarrassed at the like imperfect image, and then it's a sign of Candiace's disloyalty, which harkens the increasing loss of control Dorothy has over Candiace, who is about to be married, right? Like a narcissist needs to retain the bonds that enable them to control the people who they hold captive, like, which for a narcissistic parent is your kids first and foremost. It's also your partner, right? It's also the parent of your children. So she's cursing Candiace out without respect for the cameras that are right, without respect to, not respect for, who needs to respect the cameras? But I mean, it's like you're over here decrying your potential humiliating yourself. They're filming you yelling at your daughter like a maniac.
Yep.
Yes.
Just like that's how triggered she was. She totally lost sight of the fact that, like, oh, I'm making it worse. Whatever
it's more than worse.
You're confirming.
Yes. Like if you are worried about not looking like a Huxtable, you know, Dorothy, you should not have signed the waiver. You should not have gone on this show. Like,
yeah. And then I think a really telling expression by Dorothy is like, "Have you bring these people in my house?" And then, you know, you're gonna let that moment, like, you know, it sounds familiar, like a parent saying something in my house, right? And then Candiace goes, "My house is not your house," and you're like, oh, like, like your wedding is not her house. But Dorothy wants to again retain control. She's paying for all of it, right? Like probably Chris and Candiace's like joint savings is contributing some amount, but Dorothy is paying the bulk of it precisely so she can control ongoingly what this way she can control their marriage, right?
Which is why she embarrasses them at reunions. Like, so are you still paying for Candiace's health? She said I wasn't. Oh, okay. You know, like nasty little things like that.
That's what we know will ultimately happen. Yeah. So it's like, okay, the thing about the Huxtables though is like kind of a rich moment, because I think there was this moment in season 3 where we noted it's like probably around Candiace's like first real meeting of the women at some bubble soccer event. Her and Chris end up hosting, and like that kind of like creates this narrative that is attached to Candiace where she's like, to this day, frankly, where it's like, okay, my mother finances my life and I don't want to be punished or condemned for relying on my mother's, you know, the resources, the financial resources she makes available to me. And Robin says in a confessional moment, like, I grew up with a silver spoon in my mouth. I would say in the case of both women, silver spoon is really overstating what is basically like upper middle class status in their respective regions. Okay. So too much with silver spoon, but she goes, most of the people I grew up around grew up with the silver spoon, and I don't have any hangups about that. Robin
and she actually didn't say that in a confessional. She said that poolside to like Ashley. Yeah.
Robin said that poolside to Ashley?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, but it's like, I mean, that is itself an interesting fact, but I think the utility of Robin's expression, it's like, I mean, I was kind of annoyed at it because everybody's a little deluded here. Again, like silver spoon, chill. But what's useful about it is I do think it is correctly indexing an anxiety on Candiace's part, right? Yeah. Like, and it's kind of like, if you're the daughter of a narcissist, of course you have this like very fraught. So on the one hand, this intense attachment to the narcissist will foster that. You need me, right? So super unhealthy connection. And then so that, and then the like anxiety Dorothy brought, because at some point Dorothy gets divorced from Candiace's father and she's a single mom raising her daughter and trying to secure the kind of life she wants. And you can imagine what a divorce feels like to a 3, which we believe Dorothy is, right? So it's like this image of the Huxtables is a kind of anxious expression of like the like image, the aesthetic of Black middle class wealth, Black upper middle class social mobility that they were trying to secure. Like it seems they did secure it materially, but there's so much anxiety around it. There's so like, it must be noted. You
The
know what I
threes
mean?
I've known who have gone through major breakups after years long relationships, their first thing is always, I failed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you know, it's like when Candiace is in the confessionals reflecting about all of this, she's like, you know, it's nice to have a mom who like provides for you financially, but I want the mom BFF. Like, you know what I mean? So underscoring like this abundance of a sense that my mom is really throwing dollars at me, right? She's really bankrolling my lifestyle. And it doesn't really seem as excessive as everybody's making it seem,
No,
if you
you're
ask
right.
me, like, and given Candace's age, but okay, fair. And then but she's what she's saying she's missing is a kind of like supportive, emotional, intimate closeness.
Yeah. Which, to your point in the tagline section about anticipating what Candace might be looking for in Monique, she might be trying to work out some of that desire. I mean, frankly, I think we named this in season 3 that she's working out that desire on all of these older
Yeah.
women. Like, why else
Yep.
is this less than 30-year-old coming to join this older middle age milieu in the first place?
Yeah.
Except that she
Yeah.
wants to find that
Yeah.
mom BFF.
And consistently
Right.
relating to them by being vulnerable and looking for advice, right? Because like Ashley is also her same age, you know, Monique is around the same age, but they relate to them a little differently. First season of Ashley, she was looking for mentor figures, but then she was like, that was a farce. Right? Like,
Yeah. I mean, Ashley was doing it because it's like that's how Giselle and Karen were demanding that she
yes,
relate to them, you know?
correct,
So she's like,
exactly.
okay, I'll try it out, I guess. Whereas
Mhm.
Candace is really looking for reassurance and
Yes.
comfort.
Yes,
And I
exactly.
just
What she didn't get out of her relationship with her own mother. That's what she's looking for with these women. Yeah.
Yeah.
And to speak to this idea of like this anxiety and kind of wound around material status and all of it coming through her mom, you can tell that this is such a like unresolved space for her because the point of contention comes between her and Ashley around this like your mom pays for things, your mom, your mom, your mom. And it's like, girl, you're talking to Ashley. You have an easy comeback. Takes one to know one, Ashley. You married your father to try to get stability. So it's like that Candace, who is so sharp tongued and quick witted and so wordsmith, can't really cut through that, tells you that it's a hang up for her at this point.
Yeah,
Great
and
point.
in this scene where it's after the wedding, Candace has, you know, called her mother to be like, let's begin to work out some of our long-standing issues, which is her way of saying like, I want to start drawing boundaries. Like I'm independent, like now that I'm married, and the tagline suggests exactly she thought this is the event that's going to tip
Yeah.
the dynamic, right? It's the threshold that I crossed to say enough, mom. And in the course of that conversation where her mom is being rude, dismissive, cutting her off, Candace says, I would like for us to have a conflict and you not threaten to take my home away. And you can see Candace get like home trigger. Can the home thing is when Candace starts to cry.
Yeah.
And that makes me think like there's this fixation on the home ownership. Like, first of all, why did the mom buy the house? Why did they live in the house? Why does the mom continue to pay for the house? Why does she have full access to it? Like
She did it
home
for Crystal too. Crystal has a house that Dorothy paid for it. Candace's sister.
right.
Like,
Well, by the end of season 8, right, that's what's happening. So it's like there's this thing, I think, like even though the like narration after the fact, because we believe Candace is an 8, and even though it doesn't seem correct, the 8, the 9, and the 1 are all in the same triad, and what they suffer in that triad is something called self-forgetting, right? As an 8, the way I think of that is that like it's kind of like a 7-ish tendency to forget about bad stuff. You know what I mean? Like you don't lie and you don't disavow it. It's just like it's easy to forget about the bad stuff because you move on to the next, right? It's like 8s don't like to bear pain too much, right?
Right.
So I think for Candace, it's like happy childhood filled with financial that I mean, she won't say totally happy, but between mom and
She'll
me,
say
like
Huxtable.
yes,
I was Rudy.
exactly. But she'll also later, you know, she'll also in another instance talk about the way she was treated at schools, at predominantly white schools, you know, by like racist school kids. So I think it's really the way of saying like this picture of material security, but I suspect there's a moment where it was tenuous. There and that's kind of why this like thread of having the home snatched, threat of being homeless. Like at some point, Dorothy probably consistently underscored, like, do you want me to take this? Are you compromising my ability to secure a home and a well-being for us? You know, and like kind of dumped that on the kid. Or at least said, like, I demand your total fidelity because I'm keeping us safe in a home.
Yeah.
Because the home is such a, You're what? My wedding is not your house.
All right. Despite the tension leading up between Dot and Candy, okay? The wedding was great. All right. Fun time had by all. Drinks were flowing. Even Giselle and Monique had a little moment. Okay. But what about post-wedding? What happens, you know, in the aftermath?
So
do we need to note the moment Giselle and Monique have at the wedding?
You know, I thought that was a note, but
seems like we just did.
Well, can I just quickly say, just to frame it, Monique goes to the wedding saying she's going to apologize to Giselle and to Sherman for that whole in the park after dark rumor she spread previous season and for trying to bring Sherman's ex-wife around to spite Giselle. So Chris basically kind of forcefully is like, yeah, you need to apologize. I go to the gym with the man and I don't like. Anyway,
for
put
me in an awkward situation is his.
And he was like, he said, you let the messiness of them women rub off on you.
Exactly. And I just want to say the way Chris talks to Monique, it's controlling. I wouldn't put up with it. Maybe to your standard viewer, it's fine. The man is controlling, if you ask me. Like there's this like air of superiority where he gets to be like the truth, you know. Anyway, I believe that's the dynamic.
I think that, you know, somebody might not necessarily take it that way, except when you see what's happening with the pregnancies. And then you're like, okay, this is someone who is saying they do not want more kids. And somehow she's always showing up pregnant. So
yeah. Yeah. Also, and then last season, don't forget, Monique cried and said he's a spoiled athlete. And whenever it's her birthday, that's when they fight.
And also just stay tuned for when we do season 5. Okay.
Oh, right. Because Chris's controlling behavior will, right. And Monique's resistance to it. I think she's always passively resisting. So I do think it's even too controlling for her.
Also, update, they're divorced now.
Okay. And also, don't forget, they are now divorced.
There's that.
So Monique goes up to Giselle. I'm sorry, I want to apologize for real. And to Sherman especially. And Giselle gets kind of distracted by that because Sherman has stood her up at this wedding. And she's like, Sherman, it doesn't matter about Sherman. You need, no, me. And then so Chris sees them arguing, comes over and goes, I'm getting my pregnant wife out of here. And Giselle's like, can we have a moment? And he goes, no. And then he takes her away. And it was just kind of like, I don't know, just let the women talk, please. But whatever. So then later, Giselle makes a point to narrate in the confessional, like, 4 sheets to the wind, I decided, you know what? I'm not going to be responsible for this woman having any pregnancy complications because I stressed her out. Let me go up to her. So she goes up to Monique, who's staring into the distance at Candiace's wedding. She's looking very beautiful. And she puts her hand on her shoulder, like, the past is in the past. I'm over it. Like, more or less, I forgive you. Let the church say amen, she says with her hand on her shoulder. And Monique goes, amen. And before she knows it, Giselle's gone.
She just whispers. What a creepy 8 thing to do.
And you know what she did? She said, oh, I'm the belle of the ball.
Yes. And Monique, you could see like you saw in Monique's eyes, in her expression, like, she's finally gonna love me.
Yes.
Like,
I got chose.
I swear to God, you look at it, everyone. Watch your back.
Like, all that work finally paying off.
A twinkle in her eye. I'm finally gonna be embraced by her, and
so sad.
We also learned last season, Monique said, I got First Lady Giselle that night. I like First Lady Giselle. So I do believe Giselle saw that and went, oh, she like when I tell her what to do. She likes when I'm her moral superior. I'm going to bring that. And she did like it. And she continues to like it.
Oh, my God.
All right. So now, take us away, Kristen.
So after the wedding is over, fall season 3 starts. Candiace comes onto the show as a friend, a compatriot that Ashley had in the pageant world. And for a time, at least in the way that we tracked their kind of introductions, it was kind of Monique, Ashley, and Candiace is a little trifecta at the beginning of the young hotties, the PYTs, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
So, that little group fractures in different ways. And, Candiace and Monique go from being like this to a little bit like this, but Ashley kind of falls out. We tracked some of her jealousy about that last time in the last season. But after the wedding, Ashley invites Candiace to have a drink at Oz, her Australian restaurant that she manages for Michael. And it's nice because Candiace speaks very kindly and sweetly about Ashley. She says, like, Ashley is fun and I consider her a friend. And in this moment, Candiace echoes in the confessional what she also shared with us at the reunion is that, as much as me and Ashley have, our little tension sometimes, like, she's fun. She has what I kind of see her as having what I lack. She's a free spirit and she's kind of open, and I like that about her. On the other hand, at this same meeting, the same get together in the confessional, Ashley says, "Well, Candiace, I call her she doesn't even avow her as a friend. She can't confirm Candiace is a friend. She doesn't even give her that much.
Yeah.
We've been tracking the way that Ashley, was jealous in a kind of way. I think you see that coming out in this little interaction.
And especially this is on the heels of Candiace's gorgeous wedding, yes. Right? And
Beautiful.
But the thing about Ashley is that she's fake as fuck. So she's sitting in her face like, beautiful. You were everything was so amazing and perfect. And I saw you wrote a ballad for your husband. When I see you, I love it, I love it. Okay, y'all, the Go-Go remix of that song is great.
Can I underscore the jealousy about the song? Because in season 3's reunion, Ashley premieres her song for Michael, Coffee and Love.
In season 3, doesn't she actually do a performance? Or what season?
She does. But the video
she does. Oh my God, she backs out of one in an episode, shortly after the wedding. Okay. Like when she has Uncle Lump's birthday party, they play that shit at the party. And she's like, they're like, shouldn't you be singing? Like, and she's, and she mouths it. she just in the shadow of Candiace's beautiful wedding dedications occurs. She don't want to play herself. She don't want it.
It's so bad. The production value of that video that she made at the reunion, it's the shrillest song. It's so, I can't even remember the lyrics, and I'm glad it's blocked out of my head. But
let's not get started on that.
So obviously, she says something about Judgy Judy's and Bitter Betty's. I remember that part. Anyway,
in the song.
I'll link it.
Oh my God.
Judgy Judy's.
So most importantly, though, about this interaction, Candiace and Ashley having their little sit down post-wedding at Oz, is that Ashley volunteers of her own volition, willingly, that me and Michael are finally good after a turbulent last year, and we're really gonna proceed with attempts to have a baby. So, I'm trying to stop drinking. That's my goal, is to stop drinking. When I turned 30, I said I was gonna stop drinking so that I can pursue that goal. Ashley tells this to Candiace. That's what Ashley said, as they're sitting at Oz and Ashley is drinking a Corona, as she is wanted.
And Candiace, we should underscore, says in her, she's like, when Ashley's like, I'm going to stop, Candiace is like, girl. She points. So in other words, what we later get in the confessional is like, are you having a baby? Are you having a Corona? She confronts Ashley with that same skepticism. Okay. So it's not like she's being two-faced. She's like, I doubt it because you're drinking right now.
I know. Ashley's like, I know. But my doctor said we can. She's just making things up. Ashley makes things up, but it's important because as we go forward with this series, we'll see what happens. Candiace gets assailed.
Okay, so let's go to the kind of next major development in the season, which is the trip to New Orleans. It's Giselle hosting the domestic trip, which it's like in light of her father's upcoming birthday. I think
it's like 80th. I think it's like a big deal.
It's 80 or is it 70?
Because he died at he was close to 90.
Yeah, I think it was 80.
Wow.
Go Curtis.
Curtis was spry for 80 if that's the case. So
Now
they're
I'm
going down.
backtracking. I don't know.
No, I mean it could. We'll double check, but
Yeah,
was
they're
80.
going
It was
down for
80.
that to New
It was 80.
Orleans.
yes.
Okay, Giselle is from Texas, but Curtis and presumably Giselle's mother are both from New Orleans, even though they raised Giselle in Houston. So she says that's like a place of my childhood. I often went there for my grandparents, blah, blah, blah. Curtis Bryant, civil rights hero, has done so much for me and so much for Black people. It's important that she says that. We won't get into it. We've talked about it on the channel before, but like I said, Giselle thinks she comes from
Me
light-skinned royalty and that
and
Black
Black
people need
people.
to be grateful.
That's right.
Need to be grateful for their light-skinned royalty.
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. For deciding to slum it with the Blacks. That's the point I wanted to make. Okay.
Mhm.
So you know, they have a bus trip to New Orleans, which is more or less unremarkable. As soon as they get there, Candiace goes to Monique's suite and she is chatting with her about the dynamic so far.
Mhm. Mhm. And you know, Katie is on this trip, and Katie is making, again, as we mentioned, it's her farewell tour. They maybe didn't know that at the time, but Katie is obviously showing up very differently than what she showed up as in the first season and second season. So,
And, you know, importantly, Katie was not in season 3. So this is really Candiace's first
right.
long time being spent with Katie.
Yeah.
So Katie is in a head wrap, which is already uncharacteristic because she was very much like, I'm a Jewish woman. I do not
She was wearing Orthodox wigs.
I don't partake of the African Americana. I
We'll
don't
do that later. Right. She had a relaxer and tracks, right? Straight, like she was going for straight before. So, but now she has a head wrap.
and Monique is just like, yeah, I'm surprised. The Katie I met was this prim and proper, upstanding socialite, and now she's turned into a version of Ashley. Monique says she's like Ashley on steroids. She's like way free spirit. Give us free Amistad, free spirit. Monique says, and Candiace is laughing like, Amistad. But then we see cut to the confessional. Candiace is like, that's probably not appropriate. But in the moment, they're like laughing and keying, and it's a whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, it seems, where like you can tell the speaker is making a punchline, and so you respond by, mirroring the energy, which is like, the punchline, aha, yes. And then, it's not like the most funny thing they've ever heard, but Candiace is exuberant in her,
they were having
reaction.
a moment, separate from the whole, their, bond.
Yeah, but the point of Candiace bringing up Katie, she said Giselle is sharing her presidential suite with Katie. The point of her was to say, like, Katie looks like she don't take no mess. And Monique is like, I don't know. This is how I knew her, and now how I know her. So Kristen told us what she said exactly. And the scene closes out with Monique says, I'll just keep my little light shade to myself.
She does say that. But can we unpack?
So it is meant as shade.
The substance of the comparison, like she is saying Katie's like a slave. Is that what we're meant to understand by the Amistad reference? Because like it's a little murky to me. Amistad is obviously a reference to the film about enslavement.
The Amistad.
Yeah, taking over the ship.
Yeah, it's supposed to it's like it invokes a revolutionary spirit, which that's shade, because I would argue that's the highest compliment you could pay someone. Okay.
And just recall, Candiace just said that she admires Ashley's free spirit at the reunion. So I mean, obviously Monique, Monique was there for that. So it's just
has that in mind. She's characterizing Ashley as well as a free spirit, which I wouldn't.
Is it
That's
possible?
not how I would describe Ashley.
Yeah, no. Is it possible that this is not my reading, but just she is commenting on that, like we were saying, Katie's transition from disassociating herself with Blackness, right, to now she's wearing a head wrap,
Oh yes,
that makes more
duh, for sure. Yeah. It's like,
Because now she's all like, I'm with the crew, you know?
But it's shade when Monique herself characterized that as shade. So it's like, why would you? That's a welcome transformation.
Right. It's like,
because
where is
Monique
the shade located? Is the shade located in like, oh, she's acting like a slave, or oh, now you're down with the blacks, you know?
Or maybe
I
the
think
free
it's like,
spirit is that she doesn't seem particularly like ingratiating herself to anyone. Katie doesn't seem like she.
no, it's about appearance. It's about appearance because Candiace is the one who said she doesn't take no mess, and Monique was like, I don't know. Now, when I met her, she was all prim and proper, and now the point is that she's wearing a head wrap. So Monique is going like, oh, you're not curating an image of yourself as a perfect prim and proper white girl. Now you done took it too far. Now you're giving a slave. Like, I actually believe that's what Monique means. Because Monique remains ambivalent about strong expressions of blackness versus the kind of elitism, bourgeois society of like white affiliated people, like all these white skinned people on the cast, right? Like, she remains ambivalent about that. Like, so she thinks sometimes she's like the blackest and most like proudly black, expressive of black shit one there, but then she's consistently not. Like, she's consistently not. And I'll invoke multiple examples as we go, but you know, when Robin, and we'll talk about this in a whole other context, but when Robin says like, my genealogy revealed, Monique is acting stunned. Wow. Yeah, so you have mostly European heritage, like, you know, like, and you know who you see not here for the okadoke in the fucking van is Candiace going, idiots. What are you? Shut up.
Just a little biographical fact. Amistad was my grandma's only movie when I was a kid. Okay, so that's my association is being
for
like
black grandchildren.
The only movie she would watch?
No, because she didn't even watch movies. It was the only movie she had. Okay, so it was just like when we came over and we wanted to watch TV, it was like popping Amistad.
You're gonna watch Amistad. Yeah, grandma.
I love that. I feel like we had that VHS too.
Yes. It's like I said, the highest compliment you could pay someone. So why Monique called it light shade?